Good morning. Today we'll see about the glaucoma. Now, first of all, we'll define what you mean by glaucoma. Glaucoma is a group of disorder, or it comprises three things. One is raised intraocular pressure. Second is optic disc changes, and third is field effects. All these three things together causing the irreversible damage to the optic nerve, leading to the permanent blindness, and this blindness is irreversible. And so glaucoma detection is very important. It should be detected as early as possible because it is causing irreversible loss of vision. The total percentage of blindness because of glaucoma is near about 2% out of 100 blinds, where the cataract itself causing the blindness in our country, that is in India, near about 52% of 100 blind people. So glaucoma is not that important disorder in our country. Cataract is most of the important cause for blindness in our country, which is reversible. Still, the importance of detection of glaucoma is important because it causes irreversible loss of vision. Now, to learn about the glaucoma, we have to know about the intraocular pressure. And what is intraocular pressure? Intraocular pressure is that pressure which is exerted to the lateral wall of the eyeball, that is course of the eyeball, and this is because of aqueous humor which is produced in the posterior chamber and circulated into the anterior chamber through the pupil, and most of the aqueous is drained through the trabecular meshwork. The balance equilibrium between the formation of aqueous and drainage of aqueous is important for maintenance of intraocular pressure. So this intraocular pressure is important for many things. One, it keeps the cornea and lens relatively dry so that it is helpful in the proper refraction. Second advantage of maintaining of intraocular pressure, that it maintains the shape of the eyeball, that is applied spheroid, which is helpful for the refraction. And third thing, it perfusion of the optic nerve, which is important with the maintenance of intraocular pressure. Higher pressure will cause the damage, lower pressure also cause the damage. So maintenance of intraocular pressure is helpful for the perfusion of optic disc. So we are knowing about the importance of intraocular pressure. Now, this intraocular pressure in the eye is because of circulation of the aqueous, formation of aqueous, circulation of aqueous, and drainage of aqueous. Now, to learn about the production of aqueous humor and its circulation and drainage, we'll go in details of applied anatomy and applied physiology. In applied anatomy, we'll see about the anatomy of ciliary body, anatomy of angle of antechamber, and aqueous outflow system. In applied physiology, we'll see about the aqueous humor and its production, drainage of aqueous humor, and maintenance of intraocular pressure. Now we'll see about the applied anatomy. Now here you see the picture of anterior chamber, posterior chamber, angle of anterior chamber. Here you are seeing the ciliary body. Ciliary body has got two portions. One is pars plana and another is pars plicata. Pars plana is near about 4 millimeter in length and pars plicata is near about 2 millimeter in length. Pars plica is an important site for formation of aqueous humor. Second thing, it is also helpful in the accommodation because zonules are attached to the ciliary processes in pars placata. So, ciliary process in pars placata helpful in the production of aqueous humor, also helping in the accommodation which needed for the focusing of the near object clearly because of zonules are adherent to it. Now this is a diagrammatic figure of ciliary process. It is consisting of blood vessels in the central core, in the stroma, and the vessels are arterioles, venules, and capillaries. Then it is lined by two epithelium. One is outermost epithelium, that is pigmented epithelium, and the innermost is non-pigmented epithelium. These are the two important epithelium which are present in the ciliary process, and then this non-pigmented epithelium is covered by internal limiting membrane. The peculiarity of the non-pigmented epithelium, it is loosely adherent to each other. There are no tight junction between these two cells of the pigmented epithelial cells. So, there will occur ultrafiltration through this layer behind the non-pigmented epithelial layer. Non-pigmented epithelial layer is having tight bonding so that no fluid can go to the posterior chamber, and that is why we say this layer non-pigmented epithelial layer of the ciliary process act as a blood aqueous barrier. Here it doesn't allow any fluid to go directly into the posterior chamber. So blood aqueous barrier is maintained by this non-pigmented epithelial cell layer. It has also got a pumping system on the epithelium, that is sodium potassium ATPase pump, which helps in the active transport of the electrolytes from posterior chamber to plasma and from plasma to posterior chamber. Second thing, there is a presence of carbonic anhydrase enzyme which is helping in the formation of aqueous humor, which is present on the non-pigmented epithelial layer. This is anatomy of ciliary process. Next is anatomy of angle of antechamber. Why we want to know about the angle of antechamber? Because drainage system is present in the angle of antechamber, and this drainage is called as conventional drainage system, that is trabecular drainage, and which is present near the scleral spur at the end of cornea. So what is the depth of the antechamber, whether it is shallow or deep, will give you idea about the drainage of the aqueous humor from this angle. Less the depth or shallow the antechamber, there will be more resistance for drainage of aqueous humor. And open the angle, the aqueous will be drained properly. This is how importance of angle of antechamber. Angle of antechamber is formed by root of the iris, ciliary body, scleral spur, trabecular mesh-spur, canal of Schlemm, and that is Schallweg line. We call it as a portion of the cornea. Means it is formed between the end of the cornea which to the root of the iris. The principal ocular structure concerned with it are ciliary body, angle of antechamber, aqueous outflow system. Now, ciliary body. It is the seat of aqueous production. Aqueous production is at the level of ciliary processes in the ciliary body that are present in the pars placata. Then drainage is present in the angle of antechamber, that is an angle of antechamber playing a role in aqueous drainage, and which is formed by the root of the iris, anterior most part of the ciliary body, scleral spur, trabecular meshwork, and Schallwege line. Clinically, the angle structure can be visualized with the gonioscopic examination. Gonioscopy, there are two types of gonioscopy, direct and indirect. Directly we cannot see the angle of antechamber, so we have to take the help of gonio lens, and this is how we indirectly examine the angle of antechamber, and this procedure is known as indirect gonioscopy. And direct gonioscopy, where the prisms are there, we can see the angle directly by using that lens, but with the help of slit lamp we cannot, or with the torchlight we cannot directly examine the angle of antechamber, so it needs gonioscopic examination by using various gonioscopic lenses. Now we can grade the angle of antechamber, and the grading is known as Schaeffer's system of grading of the angle. Now when you say the open angle or normal angle, it means it is a grade 4 angle, it is wide open, and in which four structures are visualized with the help of gonio lens, and these four structures from the dome of the cornea to the root of the iris is, first is Schallwege line. This is end of the Descemet membrane. First is Schallwege line to be noted. The second is trabecular meshwork. It is divided into two parts, anterior and posterior trabecular meshwork. And third is scleral spur. And fourth is ciliary body. These are the four important structures. If they are seen gonioscopically, we can say the angle is open. Then grade 3 angle, where only three structures are visualized or visible: Schallwege line, trabecular meshwork, scleral spur, ciliary body. Grade 3, Schallwege line, trabecular meshwork, and scleral spur. Grade 2, where two structures are visualized: Schallwege line, trabecular meshwork. And grade 1, only one structure is visualized, that is Schallwege line, and grade 0, no structures are visualized. This is how one can say grade 4, grade 3, grade 2, grade 1, grade 0. Grade 4 is wide open, grade 3 open, grade 2 occludable angle, grade 1 narrow angle, and grade 0 completely closed angle. These are the various gradings we call as Schaeffer's grading for gonioscopic determination of angle of antechamber. Then how aqueous outflow system. This diagrammatic figure showing that production of aqueous humor from the ciliary processes into the posterior chamber. From posterior chamber, it moves toward the pupil, and the portion which is bounded by anteriorly iris and posteriorly lens we call as a channel for the drainage between the lens and iris, and this channel is depend the resistance at this channel is depend upon the how much iris is close to the lens. There is physiological resistance which is present. Through that channel it goes into the pupil. From pupil it is drained into the or move into the antechamber. In the antechamber finally it goes toward the angle, and from the angle at the angle there is a trabecular meshwork. Through the trabecular meshwork it goes in collector canal, that is Schlemm's canal. From the Schlemm canal it is drained into episcleral vein via aqueous vein. This is how it is moving, and this system is called as aqueous outflow system. And from episcleral vein it goes into systemic circulation, and this drainage depend upon the episcleral venous pressure, which is less than that intraocular pressure. Now we'll see about the trabecular meshwork. It is an important structure at the angle of antechamber through which aqueous is drained, and this drainage is called as trabecular drainage or trabecular meshwork drainage. This is a simple sieve-like structure through which aqueous humor leaves the eye, and it has got a three portion. One is uveal meshwork, which is having opening 25 micron to 75 microns. Corneoscleral meshwork, that is 5 micron to 50 micron, and juxtacanalicular, that is endothelial meshwork. Trabecular meshwork mainly offers the normal resistance to aqueous outflow. Means main resistance for the aqueous outflow is at juxtacanalicular meshwork. This is the site for resistance to aqueous outflow. These three meshworks are made up of a collagen fibrils, which are embedded in the matrix. And as age advances, these collagen fibers they undergo sclerotic changes, and these sclerotic changes leads to the thickening, hardening of the collagen fibrils, which in turn causes reduction in the diameter of the opening which are present in the uveal meshwork, corneoscleral meshwork and juxtacanalicular meshwork, so that increased resistance to aqueous outflow leading to the raised intraocular pressure, which happens after the age of 40 because sclerosis starts after this age, so leading to the open angle glaucoma. Next structure is Schlemm's canal, and then this Schlemm's canal is an endothelial line oval channel present circumferentially in the scleral sulcus, which is internal part of this channel is covered by trabecular meshwork. The endothelial cells of its inner wall are irregular, spindle-shaped and contain giant vacuoles. The outer wall of the canal is lined by smooth, flat cells and contains the opening of collector canals. Now, collector canals. Collector canals, there are two types. One is having larger vessels called as aqueous veins, and second is intrascleral plexus. These aqueous vessels, they are about 25 to 35. They are intrascleral, leave the canal of Slame or Slame's canal at oblique angle to terminate into episcleral veins in a laminated fashion. Divided into two systems, the larger vessels, aqueous vein, run a short intrascleral course and terminate directly into episcleral vein direct system. Many smaller collector channels form an intrascleral plexus before eventually going into episcleral vein, that is indirect system. Applied physiology. The dynamics of aqueous humor are its production, drainage, and maintenance of intraocular pressure. Means production and drainage, their balance, that is called as equilibrium between the production and drainage, will maintain the intraocular pressure normal, and if this is disturbed, equilibrium is disturbed, one factor is disturbed, maybe excessive production or maybe decreased drainage, leading to the accumulation of aqueous humor in the eye, and which is causing more pressure on the external coats of the eyeball, and in lastly it goes toward the optic disc, leading to the damage of the optic disc. Finally it causes the permanent blindness because of irreversible damage of optic nerve, and this equilibrium is maintained by the production of aqueous humor and its drainage, and that's why we say the dynamics of aqueous humor is production, drainage, and maintenance of intraocular pressure. Aqueous humor and its production. This production site, you are knowing that it is at the ciliary processes of the pars placata, which is the portion of ciliary body. Now, what is the volume of the aqueous humor in the eye? Actually, aqueous humor is crystal clear fluid, that is clear watery fluid filling the antechamber near about 0.25 microliter and posterior chamber near about 0.06 microliter of the eyeball. What are the functions of aqueous humor? The functions are: it maintains a proper intraocular pressure. Second, it plays an important metabolic role by providing substrates and by removing metabolites from the vascular cornea and lens. It maintains the optical transparency. It takes the place of lymph that is absent within the eyeball. The refractive index of aqueous humor is 1.336. Composition constitutes of normal aqueous humor are water near about 99.9% and solids near about 0.1%. This includes protein, that is colloidal contents. Because of blood aqueous barrier, the protein content of aqueous humor is 5 to 16 milligram percent, is much less than that of plasma, that is 6 to 7 gram percent. However, in inflammation of uvea, example iridocyclitis, the blood aqueous barrier is broken and the protein content of aqueous is increased, we call it as a plasmoid aqueous. Amino acid constitute of aqueous humor is about 5 milligram per kg water. Non-colloidal constituents in millimoles per kg water are glucose, that is 6.0 millimoles per kg water, urea, that is 7 millimoles per kg water, ascorbate 0.9%, 0.9 millimoles per kg water, lactic acid 7.4 millimoles per kg water, inositol 0.1 millimoles, then sodium 144 millimoles per kg water, potassium 4.5 millimoles, chloride 10 to 11 millimoles, and hydroxycarbon, that is SCO3, 34 millimoles per kg water. Oxygen is present in aqueous in dissolved state. Important note that composition of aqueous is similar to plasma except that it has high concentration of ascorbate, pyruvate and lactate and low concentration of protein, urea and glucose. Now production of aqueous humor. Aqueous humor is derived from the plasma within the capillary network of ciliary processes. The normal aqueous production rate is 2.3 microliter per minute. The three mechanisms, diffusion, ultrafiltration and secretion, that is active transport, play a part in its production at different levels. The steps involved in the process of production are summarized below. Ultrafiltration. First of all, by ultrafiltration, most of the plasma substances pass out from the capillary wall, loose connective tissue and pigment epithelium of the ciliary process. Thus, the plasma filtrate accumulates behind the non-pigment epithelium of ciliary process. Next is secretion. The tight junctions between the cells of non-pigment epithelium create a part of blood aqueous barrier. Certain substances are actively transported, means secreted, across this barrier into the posterior chamber. The active transport is brought about by sodium potassium activated ATPase pump and carbonic anhydrase enzyme system. Substances that are actively transported include sodium chloride, potassium, ascorbic acid, amino acids and biocarbonates. Third level is diffusion. Active transport of these substances across the non-pigment epithelium results in an osmotic gradient leading to the movement of other plasma constitutes into the posterior chamber by ultrafiltration and diffusion. Sodium is primarily responsible for the movement of water into the posterior chamber. Aqueous humor anterior chamber versus posterior chamber. The composition of aqueous humor in anterior chamber differs from that of aqueous humor in the posterior chamber because of metabolic interchange. The main differences are hydroxycarbon, that is SCO3, in the posterior chamber aqueous is higher than in the anterior chamber. Chloride concentration in posterior chamber is lower than in the anterior chamber. Ascorbate concentration of posterior chamber is slightly higher than that of anterior chamber aqueous. Control of aqueous formation. The diurnal variation in intraocular pressure certainly indicates that some endogenous factors do influence in the aqueous formation. The exact role of such factors is yet to be clearly understood. Vasopressin and adenyl cyclase have been described to affect aqueous formation by influencing active transport of sodium, ultrafiltration and diffusion. The passive mechanisms of aqueous formation are dependent on the level of blood pressure in the ciliary capillaries, the plasma osmotic pressure and the level of intraocular pressure. Now, drainage of aqueous humor. Now, there are two types of or two systems. One is called as conventional outflow facility and other is unconventional outflow facility. This is for drainage of aqueous humor. The conventional means trabecular outflow facilities, and it drains near about 90% of aqueous humor from this drainage system. Second is uveoscleral outflow facilities, that is unconventional way. It drains near about 10% of aqueous humor from uveoscleral outflow facility. Now here aqueous humor flows from posterior chamber into the anterior chamber through the pupil against slight physiological resistance, and this resistance is depend upon the how much iris is close to the lens surface, that is a channel between the iris and lens surface. This channel causes resistance whenever there is increased size of the lens, as after age of 40, or if there is a already shallow anterior chamber, or if there is a large lens congenitally or anteriorly placed iris. These are the main things for creating a physiological blockage, that is physiological resistance, and which is important in the development of angle closure glaucoma. From the anterior chamber, the aqueous is drained out by two routes, is trabecular outflow and uveoscleral outflow. Now here the flow chart is showing ciliary processes, production of aqueous in the posterior chamber, then from posterior chamber through the channel between the iris and lens surface into the pupil, and from through pupil it goes in anterior chamber and from antechamber it goes to the trabecular meshwork. From trabecular meshwork it is into the Slem's canal, and then trabecular collector canal, and finally into episcleral veins. This is a trabecular conventional way of drainage of aqueous near about 90%. Then another part where the ciliary body produces the aqueous humor, which goes to the suprachoroidal space, venous circulation of the ciliary body and choroid and sclera. This is called uveoscleral or unconventional outflow facilities near about 10%. Now this is very beautiful diagrammatic figure showing aqueous is produced from ciliary processes into the posterior chamber, blue dots, and this is moving from posterior chamber through the channel which is formed by the iris and lens surface. Through the pupil it goes in antechamber. From antechamber it goes into the angle of antechamber, and from angle of antechamber it is drained via trabecular meshwork to Slem's canal, then from intrascleral veins to episcleral vein. This is very beautiful picture showing the circulation of aqueous humor from posterior chamber to the angle of antechamber. This is also a diagrammatic figure showing ciliary body. The portion of the ciliary body we call as a pars placata, and after formation of aqueous humor in the posterior chamber from pars placata, it moves from the through the channel formed between the iris and lens surface into the pupillary area. From pupillary area it goes through the pupil into the antechamber. Antechamber it goes through the trabecular meshwork in the angle of antechamber, then canal of Slame, then from canal of Slame collecting canals, then collecting canals to episcleral venous plexus and drain into the systemic circulation. Trabecular or conventional outflow. Trabecular meshwork is the main outlet for aqueous from the antechamber. Approximately 90% of the total aqueous is drained out via this route. Free flow of aqueous occurs from trabecular meshwork up to the inner wall of the Slem's canal, which appears to provide some resistance to outflow. Mechanism of aqueous transport across the inner wall of the Slem's canal, we call as vacuolation theory, is the most accepted view. According to it, transcellular spaces exist in the endothelial cells forming inner wall of Slem's canal. These open as system of vacuoles and the pores primarily in response to pressure and transport the aqueous from juxtacanalicular connective tissue to the Slem's canal. From Slem's canal, the aqueous is transported via 25 to 35 external collector channels into the episcleral veins by direct and indirect systems. A pressure gradient between intraocular pressure and intrascleral venous pressure about 10 millimeter of mercury is responsible for unidirectional flow of aqueous humor. This is also an important diagrammatic figure of vacuoles. They are present in the endothelial cell lining of the canal of Schlemm and trabecular meshwork, so that this will capture the fluid and throw into the canal of Schlemm, and from canal of Schlemm it goes into the aqueous veins and then aqueous vein to the episcleral vessels. This is how it is done. Then next outflow facility is uveoscleral outflow facilities, that is unconventional outflow facility. It is responsible for about 10% of total aqueous outflow. Aqueous passes across the ciliary body into the suprachoroidal space and is drained by the venous circulation in the ciliary body, choroid and sclera. These are the two ways how the aqueous is drained. We'll repeat it. One is conventional way, that is trabecular meshwork outflow facility, and second is unconventional outflow facilities, that is uveoscleral outflow facilities. Conventional, about 90% drainage of aqueous happens, and unconventional 10% of aqueous drainage happens. This was about the how aqueous is produced and drained. We have learned about the definition of glaucoma. Second thing, the importance of the learning glaucoma, as it causes the irreversible loss of vision. So, early detection of glaucoma is very important, and to know about the how glaucoma occurs, we have to go through the applied anatomy. It consists of anatomy of ciliary body, anatomy of angle of antechamber, and anatomy of aqueous humor drainage system. And this will give you idea about the actual anatomy where there is a production and drainage of aqueous humor. Then second is applied physiology, which is important to know about the aqueous humor dynamics, how it is produced, how much quantity it is produced per minute, where it comes from and where it goes, and finally how it is drained. And you have to look for equilibrium, or you have to study about the equilibrium between the production of the aqueous humor and the drainage. Anything which is happened about the equilibrium, which we can say it is a disturbances in this equilibrium, will cause change in the intraocular pressure, which leads to the damage, and this change means raise intraocular pressure. The two way the intraocular pressure can be increased. One is by increasing the production of aqueous humor. Excessive production of aqueous humor may lead to the development of glaucoma even if the drainage system is normal, or it may be normal production and decrease drainage, that is decrease outflow facilities, leading to again raise intraocular pressure. The excessive production of aqueous humor is less common, but decreased drainage or drainage outflow facilities is hampered is very common for development of glaucoma. In next lecture, we will learn about the classification of glaucoma, then its prevalence and incidence of glaucoma, then various types of glaucoma, then how will you investigate the glaucoma, how will you manage the case of glaucoma. Hmm? Thank you very much.